also need more aircraft, modernized capabilities, and greater force levels. Additionally, we must vastly improve our cyber capabilities. And it will also spur new technology and new innovation. America has always been the country that boldly leads the world into the future. And my budget will ensure we do so and continue to do exactly that. American ships will sail the seas. American planes will soar the skies. American workers will build our fleets. And America's military will ensure that even though the darkest nights and throughout, a bright and glowing sun will always shine on our nation and on our people.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, what if we can control the weather using top secret military technology? And what if the path of this most recent hurricane in the Atlantic was predetermined? Now we know it's passed over Epstein Island and it's heading square into a recently built $3 billion deep sea Chinese port in the Bahamas. We're going to take a look at that and a whole bunch of other breaking news stories, including whether or not Q told us all about this a long time ago. We're going to talk about all of that and a whole lot more, so stick around. Hi, I'm Craig, and boy, do we have a show for you tonight. Welcome to Just Informed Talk. As you guys always know, I start by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. So, obviously, we always go over and check the Q board to see what has been happening, and nothing. We are still waiting. Q post 3570 is where we last started, and we're still waiting for the newest Q post, which will obviously be coming up in the next few days after the testimony is given on Capitol Hill by the owners of the website where Q posts. So we're waiting on that, and there's a lot to that we will keep covering here as we go forward. But for today, we have a big show, an incredible theory to talk about with this hurricane fast approaching in the Bahamas, make landfall in the Bahamas. We're going to talk about that and how the path of this storm is strange, and is there more to the path of this storm and how it's moving and how everything is connected. That's the best way I can put it right now, is we're going to get into a bunch of different details that are going to make sense once we put it all together. But before we do that, look, I always say, come here, share these videos. Why? Watch them and share them if you haven't already. Look, the fact of the matter is, we know Google's suppressing this content. Trust me. If you could see the back end and you could see it from my end and how they treat me and how our conversations are and how they demonetize every video and how, you watch the actual analytics and the numbers, you see real-time suppression. And then they admit it. Then they write blogs. Like Susan Wojcicki writes a blog and just brags about the fact that she's limiting the content's reach, like mine's, by 50% or more. And that's a part of their game plan, because they are obviously the modern day totalitarian fascists that were described in George Orwell's 1984. They are the technocratic authoritarians who have decided to impose their will on society at large by telling us that they're the arbiters of truth and morality. And before I get too much into an aside on that, you guys got to share these videos. Hit the share button. Get the content out that way, because what we are doing is we are going around them and their censorship algorithms, but more importantly, we are continuing to show them that we will not back down. We're going to continue to speak the truth as we know it. And me on this channel, I have two things. First, I share God's grace with everyone, God's word. That's what I'm called to do. God has given me this great platform for it. And also the truth as I know it. But they want to shut that down because they don't want us to have a conversation, because the more you think, the less controllable you are, the less of a slave you are. And they don't want free thinkers. They want slaves. They want mindless zombies who will buy and do whatever they say and tell them to. So with that being said, let's just get into the first story, a tragedy. Thoughts and prayers with family and friends of this awful massacre. Apparently 5 people dead, 21 wounded and the shooter was allegedly killed in this mass shooting in Midland, Odessa. Now, this is just the latest report. There's not much information to go off of. Initial reports say the shooter was a white male in his mid-30s, and that's about all we have. And then we have these latest totals. Now, a few things. First of all, we already know what Q tells us about looking for therapists and looking for the Freemasons. Are there going to be any Freemasons that just pop on local TV and start giving interviews like, hey, I was there. Other things that you look at when these incidences occur in order to understand better what this is. But given that we have no information on the shooter and we only have these preliminary reports that are coming out, I'm basically of the opinion at this point, we should wait and see what the facts are. Who was this person? Why did they do it? Did they have a mental illness? Were they on any psychotropic drugs? Were they recently with a therapist for a long period of time? Who was that therapist? And those kind of things, I think, would be a good place to start. But the mainstream media, they always start, they start 100% of the time with, we need to get rid of all guns. And it seems like a logical argument until you look at other countries. For instance, this just happened in France. We have a Afghan asylum seeker killing one person and managing to stab a dozen other people with a knife. So, I mean, look, that's where their whole thing falls apart, because what are you going to ban knives? Oh, okay. Then they're going to use a rock. And you're going to ban rocks? Good luck, right? You're going to ban vans and cars and anything that can do anything, matches, because, they might light something on fire. I mean, the logic just doesn't hold up when you put it to the test. And the mainstream media is going to take this tragedy and say, look, we need to get rid of all guns. I don't know the details about what kind of gun this guy used. I don't know the details about anything about this person as an individual, but I can tell you the answer to this is not taking away people's guns, except for in the case where we have established parameters, meaning background checks that look at certain things and markers that would, keep people from owning guns. And we have very strong laws in the books now. And also, it always just neglects to take into account where there's a will, there's a way. If these people, these psychopaths, want to hurt and maim and kill people, they'll figure out a way to do it. Take away all the guns. Well, guess what? They'll go get a knife. Take away all the knives. Guess what? They'll go get a truck. It just baffles me, the logic that is so flawed that they use every time one of these tragedies happens, and they act like they're giving you this incredible answer that is going to solve all of our problems when we know what happens. Look at the other countries where they took away the guns. I hate to quote Alex Jones, but Mao took away the guns. Stalin took away the guns. And we will, in 1776, will commence in this country if you take away our guns. And I only say that laughingly because I'm thinking about the way Alex Jones said that on Piers Morgan. I obviously do not think at all this tragedy is funny. But it does make us think. It makes us go, all right, if this is happening, what's the logical solution? This person obviously is deranged, mentally disturbed, and we need to know, like I said, the facts surrounding his psychological background and history. And you can't just say, oh, he went on 8chan once and he said a Q post, or the logic doesn't work that way, but it doesn't work the other way either. Oh, he attended an Antifa rally, or he went. No, these people are psychotically deranged and they are accountable for their own actions. Now, of course, you can say that some things are much worse than others. For instance, Antifa actually, basically inciting people to riot and making calls to violence is far different than a peaceful movement of truth seekers who are trying to bring equality of law in this country. But the point is, you can't just say that this is all because of this ideology or this one particular thing or because of a gun. It's because of a multitude of things. And you know what the fake news is going to do? They're going to use this as a chance to divert away from the positive messages in our media. They're going to use this, and it depends. It all really depends on what this guy ends up to be. If he ends up to be some kind of Antifa Bernie supporter, we're not going to hear much about it. But if he ends up to be some kind of conservative libertarian, you bet your bottom dollar you're going to hear about it nonstop for the next week. And after all, isn't that what's wrong with our society? The fake news media focuses on all the wrong things. They try to spin stories in order to push an agenda, and their agenda is to destroy this country. So, I don't know. This on the same day, it would seem, as this report comes out about the United States unleashing the military to fight fake news and disinformation. So I was thinking about this, and I'm thinking, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Well, these things, in my opinion, don't ever end up working out too well, especially when you have the good folks at the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, aka DARPA, wanting to customize software that could unearth fake hidden news among more than 500,000 stories, photos, videos, and audio clips. So the fact of the matter is, this is a controversial thing in my opinion, but at the same time, it could be great if the DARPA bots were programmed to like go remove CNN articles and MSNBC articles, then great, I'm all for it. But this is looking a little bit too Orwellian for me to sign on with, and we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. The fact of the matter is, though, there is something to national security. I mean, I know people go, oh, you're going to censor people and all this. Well, believe it or not, our country as a whole has kept secrets since its inception, pretty much. So secrets are a part of it because we can't just say everything and tell everyone everything. That would take away a certain competitive or a military or any type of business economic advantage that would exist. So I'm not saying it's okay to lie, but I'm saying that there's always going to be that gray area that falls into the realm of national security, and we have to be the constant force pushing back against that so that we can continue to be a free and open society, right? Because if we let this get too far out of hand, just like with the mainstream media and where they're at now, they're at like Orwellian levels of fake news, propaganda, indoctrination, and we don't want to, it always seems with these things that once you swing to one extreme, it'll swing back to another extreme. And I'm hoping that we don't swing back to another extreme. We should press for a free media always, but we should obviously fight fake news. We're going to go ahead and see how that works out. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure, again. Now, here's one. Ilhan Omar is defending a notorious Somali terror group. What's new? I mean, what else would she be doing? Apparently, this is from her Twitter account. She is saying that they need to protect this Hormuz. And according to this article, it talks about the founder of this telecommunications company that is being mentioned here in this tweet is connected to this Somali Council of Islamic Courts, which was a radical Islamist element and the most radical element of the Islamic court in Somalia. The union eventually formed the group known as Al-Shabaab. Isn't that great? A terror group in Africa that we know from Michelle Obama's tweeting was kidnapping women and girls. And this is just another example of her deflecting, I think. And it just shows. I mean, I think at this point, she's figured that she's got nothing to lose. And she, being a puppet of the Qatari government, they realize they have nothing to lose. So they're just like, all right, just go 100% crazy and just push our agenda 100%. It's like, are you a congresswoman in Somalia or are you a congresswoman in America? Because last time I checked, the good people of Michigan didn't vote you into office to lobby for a Somalian telecommunications company to be protected by the Somali government. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe your constituency likes supporting Al-Shabaab too. So in that case, we have a much larger issue, I would say. Now, let's get into this big story. The one that we're going to talk about is the weaponization of weather. You guys have probably heard this, right? HARP, right? Let's go all the way to that if you want. What was HARP? It was the High Altitude Advanced Research high frequency active auroral research program. So, this was something that we talked about for a while. It was an idea that they could use these antennas to push these microwave waves into the atmosphere, which would in turn push up a certain level of our atmosphere. We have different levels, the stratosphere, ionosphere, so on. I think it pushes the ionosphere up, and in doing so, we could somehow manipulate weather patterns. Well, this is stuff that's been publicly talked about for I don't know how long. And they basically admitted that it was one of their concepts. And I think a lot of people have proven that it is theoretically very possible what they are saying, right? Although we don't know how much hard evidence there is to suggest that we could pull up to say it's happening. With that being said, we have to understand that there is a certain set of coincidences with this storm. Now, first of all, if you guys watch this video here from yesterday, I actually opened it by showing you an edited version of President Trump's video address that he made and posted to his YouTube channel and his Twitter account, where he warns people about the storm that's heading toward Florida. But he never mentions Florida. He makes all kinds of cryptic references to the Virgin Islands, and then makes another reference to the fact that the storm's going to turn and all this stuff. So he also makes a reference to dead center, that storm's going to hit dead center, and a lot of people read that to mean D.C., District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. So is the storm going to end up hitting D.C.? That would be interesting. Now, a couple thoughts I had coming into this were, first of all, this, and I'll give a little shout out, obviously, to 3 Days, 3 Nights. This tweet kind of started me digging down this track, and it seems to me that there's a lot more to the story that we can continue to uncover. But like I said, we're going to start here. Caribbean islands becoming hotspots for Chinese investment. So this was a story that was put out a while ago, actually. This was talking about, this story was coming out in March 25th, but it's talking about the Grand Bahama Island, where a Hong Kong-based company spent approximately $3 billion developing and expanding a deep water container port. Now, this port would be a direct competition, or be indirect competition to the United States. It strategically allows Chinese to bring more goods in and expand their trade, while at the same time they could smuggle anything else in that they wanted. Not to mention the fact that this port is a part of the, I believe, obviously the One Belt, One Road initiative, even though it is pushed by a Hong Kong-based company, which is supposedly free. We see what's happening in Hong Kong right now. The way that the Chinese government has basically integrated itself into their system, has inundated it with huge mass immigration from mainland China into Hong Kong of mainland Chinese who are now voting communist and pushing communist principles, even though the agreement was for Hong Kong to remain free for another 30 or 40 years. And basically Hong Kong is compromised, and it is a part of mainland China now, the Communist Party, the CCP. So remember this, that this port, they spent $3 billion in developing a deep water port. Now, I don't know if you know what that means, but that means a lot of dredging. That means a lot of construction costs. And I wonder how devastating this hurricane is going to be, because let's look at this port. The port itself is actually located just what seems to be north of a little place called Cooperstown in the Bahamas. Now, here is the Bahamas, and we're going to kind of zoom all the way down into this container port. So you see here, here's the town of Cooperstown, and you can see just north of here is this massive complex, which seems to be empty at the moment, or at the time of this photo being taken. But this looks to me, I think, like the deep sea container port that was developed by the Chinese. I've been able to basically verify that through other news sources. But here it is. Now, let's back out. You see where this is. There's Cooperstown. It's just north of there. It's on the north end of the Bahamas. I think that's Grand Bahama, or no, that's I don't know, one of the Bahama Islands. Anyway, the point being, let's look at this. So you see where this is, right? And you can see the hurricane right there. As I back out, there's a massive Category 5 hurricane that, I mean, you could almost, I mean, knowing how hurricanes go in this area, it's going to basically hit it dead center. And it already hit the Virgin Islands and Little St. James. That's, or the U.S. Virgin Islands. But regardless, you guys can see that this hurricane's coming right at it. Now you want to see, this is a live picture right now of that hurricane. And as you can see here, I mean, it's heading directly for the port there in the Bahamas that is this $3 billion deep sea Chinese port. So is it coincidental? And that's really the question you have to ask yourself. I mean, the way I work, as far as my mind goes, is everything that you imagine or see, for the most part, is probably real, and we probably just don't know about it yet. I know it sounds like, oh, well, that's crazy. Well, actually, if you think about the technology and how advanced it continually gets on a regular basis, and then you look at the way that our government's been spending all this money and developing all of these technologies for so long, I mean, so many things that we probably think aren't real are very real. And it wouldn't take much for a control system to be devised that could actually steer a large mass of weather. Now, I'm not telling you that I'm some sort of meteorological scientist who can provide you the exact specific details of how that would be done, but I can tell you that what we looked at before, which was the HARP article, so we have things like HARP that do exist, right? And we know that they're reporting on this right now. The northern Bahamas are hunkering down. And I've always thought to myself, wouldn't this be a great way, too, to deploy, you know, some Black Ops SEALs for some tactical missions that involve, you know, shutting down some criminal enterprises or trafficking networks or international money laundering syndicates or whatever. Illegal weapons being brought into the Chinese port by the Chinese, or, you know, I mean, at one point, Russia was trying to bring nuclear weapons into Cuba. So I wouldn't put anything past these people, right? And if you think about it, you could deploy a SEAL team in the midst of a hurricane and it would be great coverage. I mean, first of all, you wouldn't have many witnesses, not many people out. Anything that happens, you know, you get privacy. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here, as you guys can obviously tell. So, you know, this is a real thing, though. China did build the port in the Bahamas and provide military, and it provided them with military assistance. So this could be a national security threat, and this could be a part of the trade war that has been clandestinely going on for so long. So Q has told us about this Corona satellite. And how they were all taken offline. Remember, one of the first things we heard from Q about the Corona satellite, I believe, program was SEALs are wonderful creatures, aka the Navy SEALs, which are fast dispatch teams that can go anywhere in the world pretty much at the drop of a hat and execute pretty much any operation as far as anything goes, I would say. Heard they work fast at capturing their prey. So we're capturing prey, meaning we are the hunters are becoming the hunted. Isn't that interesting? Prey, silence is golden, Corona offline, deactivate, games are fun, Q. I think there's some more meaning there, but first of all, let's look back. What was Corona? Corona was a satellite program that's apparently existed back in 1950s up to the 70s, but you know, these programs, they keep the same name and they just say that they don't exist anymore, and then they just keep developing the technology and deploying them. It's the plausible deniability that they work within. If you look at the technology that was found here in this satellite, it had seemed that it was, according to this, some sort of high quality satellite camera lens that was used to take very close-up pictures, detailed pictures. Now, we all know that along with that technology, they would have been testing out all types of things. If you guys think about the technologies that we can speculate may exist today, like directed energy weapons and or other EMP type weapons, you understand very quickly that the applications of this satellite weren't just surveillance based. I would guarantee you 110% that they had other capabilities that they were testing and perfecting. And this is talking about a program that supposedly ended back in the 70s. So was this program just officially ended, then put on the black budget and run by the CIA and continually weaponized or perfected until it was eventually taken over by this deep state and then weaponized? And Q has told us in these posts that it was taken back from the deep state by President Trump and military intelligence in the operation that was shown here about all of the routes, or the satellites coming offline. It's a theory. I mean, I have to throw it out there because this came out. President Trump tweeted the other day this picture saying the United States of America was not involved in the catastrophic accident during final launch preparations for the Safir SLV launch at Semnon launch site 1 in Iran. I wish Iran best wishes and good luck in determining what happened at Site 1. So what's interesting is this New York Post article talks about one of the scientists who's developing this technology, which weirdly enough looks a lot like the technology that they were developing for this satellite system back in, the 70s. And that's probably about the where Iran is at as far as technologically speaking. But this guy, one of their top scientists, says, he tweets at President Trump saying, hey, look, our satellite's still totally fine. And me and Naheed and I right now, good morning, Mr. Donald Trump. And okay, great. Nowhere in this tweet do I see President Trump say that the Safir satellite was destroyed. He basically says the launch site was destroyed. So great, you have your rocket, now you don't have a launch site. Good luck building your next launch site and watching it magically disappear as a beam from the sky just shoots out of nowhere and eviscerates your whole launch pad. So good luck with that, Iran. We're all not rooting for you at all. So that's pretty much where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Before we go, a few more things. Obviously, come here, hit the subscribe button if you haven't watched these videos. Share them on your social media. Hit the share button on this video. Helps out big time. And leave your thoughts, theories, and comments below. Tell me what you think about all this. I'm just asking these questions, putting it out there so that we can have a conversation. And that's what the whole comment section is meant for, so we can have an open conversation about what's going on. And like I always say, we try to have our own Q research board at the bottom of each one of these episodes. So whatever you guys can contribute, please feel free to jump down there and let me know what you think. A few other things before we go. Hey, be brave. Download the Brave browser. Here's a cool thing for you to do. If you haven't done it yet, I'm going to keep encouraging you guys to. If you're using Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox or whatever as your internet browser, you might want to give Brave a try. Brave is an internet browser itself. All you have to do is come here and click this button. There'll be a link in the description. When you use the specific link that will be in the description of this video to download the Brave browser, they'll make a contribution to this channel. And every time you use the Brave browser to visit Just Informed Talk on YouTube, they'll also make a contribution. Now, why should you do this? Well, it's free and it is better. It blocks all of the ads. If you ever get on websites through your Internet Explorer or browser and you're inundated with ads and you can't get anything done, you can't even find the article sometimes, so many pop-ups, all of that Brave does away with. So you guys should look in the link, download it. Once you download it, you install it just like you would any other computer program, and then you run it. It is a browser. It is an internet browser. So check that out. Also, don't forget to come over here to Just Inform You on Twitter at Just Inform You, the official Just Inform Talk Twitter page, and give me a follow. We can have a conversation, and it's a cool way that we can connect outside of the channel, and I always appreciate you guys coming by. Also, check out justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to the Q stuff, different news sites, breaking news, and of course, the latest videos from the channel here. So that's justinformednews.com. Go check that out. A couple other things, Patreon, patreon.com. It's a crowdfunding website. You guys who contribute are what keep this channel alive. I've talked about YouTube, demonetization, everything that happens there. You guys are keeping this channel alive with your donation. All you have to do is come here, click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it and know you're helping create content on this channel 24/7, 365 for you guys. So that's what I'm doing, and I really appreciate your help and support. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. So thank you so much for all of your support in this. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. Today, I want to share a verse with you guys that is important. And I think we've probably talked about this at some point or another, but you guys know when I talk about humility and being humble and what that really means and having reverence for God. Well, this is a verse from Philippians chapter 2, verse 1 through 4, which talks about Christian humility. And here's just a little bit of a different take I want to share with you guys, and we'll talk about it quickly. It says, "If then there is any encouragement in Christ, if any consolation of love, if any fellowship with the Spirit, if any affection and mercy, fulfill my joy by thinking the same way, having the same love, sharing the same feelings, focusing on one goal. Do nothing out of rivalry or conceit, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. Everyone should look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interests of others." And look, I know it's one of the hardest things for a lot of people to do is to do unto others as you would have done unto you, and to look out for others. But what I like about this take on humility as a Christian is it reminds us that we do need to look out for ourselves, but we also need to look out for others. And sometimes by putting yourself out there, making yourself vulnerable, maybe taking a chance to help somebody that, by making them more important than yourself, as it says there, that is what God calls us to do. So we take that risk to reach out to somebody, to put ourselves on the line to help them. And that's what life should be about. And that's what you should share with your family and friends and your loved ones, your kids, your parents, your spouse, your friends, coworkers, whoever. These are the kinds of ideas that we need to get out there, not these selfish, self-loathing, conceited, materialistic, things that are glamorized through these social media and technology and TV and internet and everything. We need to push this, doing unto others, having that kind of Christian humility to understand that sometimes we just got to take that risk. And you know what? If you're looking for advice and you're trying to figure out, I want to take the risk, I don't know how, I got a little tip for you. Just say a prayer, open your heart and reach out to God and let Him show you the way. And that's where I'm going to leave it. So I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode. Make sure you come here, click the big red subscribe button if you haven't, and hit it, tap it, bop it, reverse roundhouse kick it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.